Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Kimball. I am so excited you're here today, and we're going to be going over local podcasting for biological dentists. This is my kind of secret ingredient that really no other marketing agency out there is doing, definitely not for biological dentists. And it is the tool that allows you to create the movement and create the know, like, and trust in your area. Most podcasting is just done broadly. It's kind of like shotgun, but there's actually a way that built into podcasting. It's just not, it's kind of a secret hidden gem not being utilized, where you can take and just kind of saturate an area with a podcast using targeted advertising and targeted messaging and social media and whatnot. So that said, let's dive right in. This is workshop style too. I'm going to share with you some worksheets, and I'm going to show you how to use a little bit of our AI secret weapon as well with this, right? So getting back to ChatGPT here. Okay, here we go. How can I help you today, right? So let's say if you wanted to use ChatGPT to help you figure out how to do your podcast, right? I have this worksheet, which is in the downloads in the Facebook group, again, with everything else, how to launch a killer podcast. And in it, it has all these different questions that it asks you and gives you guidance on what equipment to use. It's really cheap to start a podcast, maybe $100 you could get it. Assuming you have a laptop, that has some sort of video capability, then you're pretty much good to go. If you need a laptop, it might be a little more expensive to start. If you have a desktop even that does it, you won't be mobile, but you could just have to set up your space so that it's good for podcasting. That said, it's very cheap to start a podcast, and the results can be just amazing, right? So there's a 3-part launch formula. But first things first. First thing you want to do is figure out what you're going to podcast about. Now, you're a biological dentist and you're coming to me about marketing for your practice. So probably you're going to be podcasting about biological dentistry. I realize I'm not showing you this. This is the download I've been talking about. So how to launch a killer podcast, right? So it's podcast setup, right? Goes over tools to use, how to do things, some pro tips. When you get into the editing and whatnot, it is possible to do that yourself. And it doesn't take that long. It's probably going to take you about time and a half of the length of your audio to edit if you get really good at it. But obviously, if you work with us, we do all of that for you. All you have to do is record 1 hour of content per month, and you can have 2 separate podcasts per month, right? Plus, we repurpose all that content to all your social media channels, to paid marketing, and to other avenues. So that really is a key part of this. Every dentist I've worked with has always been busy, and the idea of putting on a marketing hat as well as being the office owner, helping manage things, and doing the dental work and practice and handling continuing education and just more education you want to get as a biological dentist, it's just kind of unfeasible. So this process is really simple. From you as a dentist, you could delegate everything else to either us as a marketing agency or to marketing people in your practice. Just give them these downloads, and you just do 1 hour of video content per month, and everything else could be made from that. It's pretty amazing. So, but first thing, before you start your podcast, you want to know what you're going to be talking about. You want to get the theme worked out, right? So choose the details of your podcast. Remember, it is important to stand out. What are you knowledgeable about that you can provide unique value? What do you want to talk about? So even within your profession, are there areas like maybe you're a specialist with pediatric dentistry, or maybe you helped train dentists in safe amalgam removals, and you know the safe system very well. So those are things you can talk about. Doesn't mean you can't talk about other things, but they would be a starting point for you to work on, right? Now, let's go back to ChatGPT. So if we didn't have, if you didn't have a chat that was already seasoned, that you already had told it who you were, then you'd have to copy and paste that information I went over in the last video, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the last video and watch that. And then you would put that in here. But since I already asked it a bunch of questions about this particular dentist, I will just use this chat that's already seasoned, so to speak, right? So hopefully you can see that now. So I'm just going to go back to and I'm going to copy this out of here. And I'm going to ask chat to tell me what I should be doing my podcast about. Let's copy that. Hopefully you can see this. Put this down here and say, act as an expert podcaster and marketer. I am starting a podcast for promoting my dental practice. And then it's going to change this. What am I knowledgeable in? And da da da. And then it's not worded exactly grammatically correctly, but this will be enough for it to give us a response. And again, I'm shortcutting things a little bit because this is, demonstration, but I just want to give you an idea of how this works. So as an expert podcaster and marketer, it tells you biological dentistry insights. So explain what biological dentistry is. Always a good thing to start in a podcast is technical. Explain what the podcast is about. Don't assume your audience knows what the heck you're talking about when you're going over things. So you get the basics in. And then it says share health tips that relate to oral health, such as nutrition, lifestyle changes, and natural remedies. That would be great too. Remember, you can't think like you're talking to colleagues. You have to think like you're talking to patients. And usually, what I tell the dentists I work with is take the patient who's doing the exact service that you'd like to be delivering more of, and who has the personality and life situation that you like to be working with, right? And pretend like you're talking to them explaining something, and there's your video content, right? Now that's if you're doing solo videos. You can definitely interview people as well, but I would recommend you do a combination. If you're doing a podcast and it's to promote your practice, you need to be promoting your practice. When you talk to other people, you may be promoting your practice inadvertently or in some ways, or giving yourself more authority, but it has to be a mix. And I usually recommend 50-50. Half your videos should be and by videos, we do video podcasting. So the podcasts, yes, they're just audio, and you can listen to them on, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that. But we also post them on YouTube as videos and other platforms as videos, right? Okay. And it just gives you all this valuable information about sharing your personal story as one of your episodes, discussing challenges and successes you've created or encountered in your practice. Feature stories from patients. You could bring on a patient who's willing to be interviewed and talk to them about their experience with you and what they went through and all these things. So it's pretty unlimited as to what you can do. And if we were to ask it to give us good people to interview, let's ask it. I want to also interview experts that complement my field and bring on people. Please give topics. Okay, this is telling us how to address the person in the interview, the episode structure for an interview. Okay, and now it's getting into topics and people in interview. Topic: gut oral health connection. So interview a gastroenterologist or microbiome researcher, and then things to talk to them about. Interview a nutritionist, interview a naturopathic doctor, interview a biomedical researcher, sleep specialist or ENT, pediatric dentist, and toxicologist. Wow. And it gives you subjects to go over. So this is your podcast. This is how you would create your podcast. You just go into chat and bam, you actually have just copy and paste that into documents and then turn them into targets to get done, action targets to get done. Good. Okay, I'm going to find a ENT. You probably know an ENT. You probably had to refer, if you're a biological dentist, you probably have somebody in your network that you've referred people to. Or if you don't, you know of someone. And if you happen to not know of someone, then it'd be really easy as a biological dentist to introduce yourself to someone and ask them to be on your podcast. Most people are ecstatic when they get asked to be on somebody's podcast. It's really fun. So that's it. That's all you have to do right now. If you look back at this thing, there's other questions to ask, and there's other things to go in to use chat with, right? So you could ask them those other two questions. And then you just buy your equipment that you need. There's some recommended. Blue Yeti is really good for, a mic. I actually just use these a lot of times, when I'm using my laptop. And then this gives you a way of launching your podcast as well in here. So it's really, really simple to do, although this does require some technical know-how, setting up a page and all that. If you're going to launch this on your own, I do recommend using Buzzsprout as your hosting platform for podcasting. They are AI-ified themselves, and it is really an amazing tool to use, right? And gives other two cool tools for you to use here as well. You can get as complex as you want to, but honestly, just with a setup, your mic and your laptop to do recording, or your computer, and a Buzzsprout subscription, you could probably get away with doing most things if you don't mind it being a little rough, as far as the editing not being totally perfect, right? So that said, hopefully that all makes sense. And if you have any questions about doing the podcasting, definitely reach out to me. But it is not complicated. It is a matter of getting it done, really. That 1 hour of recording. If you're not doing, the podcast with us, then you're going to have to figure out someone to help you with the editing. It's not practical in my world for a dentist to do all of that, to do the podcast interviews and or delivery of an hour a month of content, plus do the editing, plus do the production within Buzzsprout, plus it's just not going to happen. I've seen it time and again. If you're the exception to that rule, that's awesome. Power to you, go for it. But in my experience, you need to assign and delegate some things within your office with your marketing team. Or if you don't have that, or if that's not what your marketing team is doing or you want them to do, by all means, work with us and we'd be happy to handle that for you. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Again, use the Facebook group, ask any questions, use me. I want to empower you to be able to get yourself out there, become known, respected, trusted, and more people coming in and availing themselves of holistic dentistry. All right. See you soon.